My parcel, the vacuum.
Oh, the vacuum?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a delivery driver?
Yeah, the vacuum.
That's amazing. So this is how they deliver parcels in the Philippines. He just tapes them all together, puts them on a scooter.
Nakabutang mo sa Lazada kay i-attempt na daw. Thank you.
What do you have there, Lovey?
Vacuum.
Got your vacuum?
Yeah, I bought a vacuum.
Installers here are often paid for speed and not quality of work, especially when it comes to things like utilities, like electric or Wi-Fi. They want to go as fast as possible in order to get onto the next job so they can get paid for the next installation. In today's video, I'm going to talk about what happened with the Wi-Fi and how the installer wanted to do something different that needed to be done for the home, and how I pushed back to make sure it was right. So come along, take a look at what happened today, along with all the other things going on with this new home build. We have converged here during the Wi-Fi. We just had a challenge trying to figure out how to get the wire into the house. And they want to go from the outside. I want them to come in from the vent here. So they're putting the box up here high on this pole and then running that wire along the power into the house. So what they'll do is they'll put it through, and then he wanted to go outside here, didn't want that, so instead we got one of the guys to climb up in the attic, and then this guy here, and then he was able to, just a second, he was able to get the wire all the way through to here. So at this point we're having him pull together some extra wire so that when we hook it up to the TV, as far as the Wi-Fi and all that, that there's room to move that up onto the cabinet that we're going to build that's going to hold the TV in this area. It'll have cabinets underneath it. So that's what the final Wi-Fi wire looks like before they connect it to the router. So this is where they run the wire. So along the power line here to the house, and then down along the conduit, and then they can cut left and then through the vent. Because before they wanted to go all the way down here, and I don't want it in front of the house. Now if we look at our neighbor's house, you'll see why I don't want it done that way. Same type of floor plan as mine, but you see what they did is they ran it from the pool to the house. In fact, they did kind of a separate wire, and then down, and then across, down again, and into the house this way. Now that looks awful. So that was what I was trying to avoid. Took some negotiating. They didn't want to climb the ladder, didn't want to go up in the attic, but in the end I showed them that there was a plate that we could remove in the living room. There was already a pipe going from the attic down, and so they could get to it. So the younger guy had to climb up there and go up in the attic and then feed the wire down through the wall. It took some effort. It wasn't easy. One of the things I wanted to mention, which is just a dynamic that goes on with most companies that are installing Wi-Fi or cable, is they're probably paid as subcontractors per installation. And I say that because they're always in a hurry. And this was no exception here in the Philippines. So we were using Converge, which overall for Wi-Fi have found very good for the home. You have a choice of different plans that you can go to for the different speeds, upload, download, etc. They really focus on download here. But anyway, Converge itself has been fine as a service. But the installers were in a big hurry, and they just wanted to hit it as fast as they possibly could and then get out. So the guy was kind of big and assertive, and he wanted to put the Wi-Fi wire from this pole here So they connect up on the pole. It's this kind of red and black lower wire. And what he wanted to do is he wanted to run it down to the house here, and then on top of these tiles, and then down to this window. That's what he wanted to do. And I did not want that to be seen coming down from the top of these tiles on the little overhead above the roof here, and come down and then drill a hole near the window and put it on the side. What I wanted was it to be on the inside wall. So we got there, but there was some serious pushback. And the guy said that he did not want to climb a ladder, which he didn't end up doing himself. He sent somebody else. But he did not want to climb a ladder to go up to this vent up here. Let me back up so you can see this. So this vent right there where they ended up running the wire through, he did not want to go up on a ladder. And he said if he had to go on a ladder, he was going to have me sign something saying that if he fell, as a disclaimer, then I had to pay for his injuries and whatever else, which I refused to do. So we just kept pushing back and said, no, I want it through the vent up there because that goes directly into the attic. And then we can run it down the wall to where the Wi-Fi should be. And luckily one of the thinner, younger guys was willing to do that, so climbed up there. The other guy then went into the attic inside and then ran it down the wall. It wasn't easy to feed it through the wall, but we got there. So I just wanted to mention that sometimes you're going to get pushback here. Overall, you know, Filipinos are very friendly people. And so that's not a common thing. They don't like conflict. And so they usually will agree to something without a lot of, you know, back and forth. But this guy was trying to get in and out, and he just was not what I would have preferred for an installer. When he went to look at the outlets inside, he took a screwdriver and he kind of messed up the wall a little bit by pulling off the caps to the outlets where they run the wires a little too quickly. It just was freshly painted, and it then kind of chipped the wall paint. Anyway, we got there, but I just wanted to mention, make sure you push back and say that this is where I want it. All right, here is the final Wi-Fi connection with the router and everything. So we were able to get them to feed it through the wall. They used a cable with a hard wire at the end of it to feed it down through this wall, because through this outlet here, there was a pipe inside the outlet. So they just had to climb up inside the attic and get to it and then feed it down. So this is what the final Wi-Fi looks like. And what they had to do was go through the hole into the attic, which they left open for us. Now we're going to close this. You know, these Converge guys were in such a hurry. They got our walls all dirty from putting his feet on it. You see that? Look at that. As the guy climbed up with his toes. They're in just such a hurry to get things done instead of doing it right. Anyway, they climbed up through there and then tapped into it. I don't remember that orange pipe being there before.
I think that's from yesterday.
Is that from yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
But you see what he did to the wall with his feet?
Yeah.
Jeez. They solved one problem, create another. Anyway, we should have Wi-Fi turned on in the next hour or so. So here's the ladder going up into the attic. It's a little bit sketchy because you've got to get to the top of that ladder. Then you got to climb through that little hole and then make sure that you don't break anything or hurt yourself on the way up and into the attic. So I want to give you a look to see what it's like. So I'm going to climb up to the top here and then stick the camera in. So forgive me as it's moving around here. And in just a second, we'll be in the attic. Here we go. So there's a concrete, partial wall as part of the center wall that's in the house. And there's a couple of those, and those are the things that you basically have to walk on. The orange electrical piping is what we use to run wires across. So it actually can't just be a wire, it's got to be inside that orange electrical PVC pipe. So you can see there's a concrete frame around where the top of the hole is, and you gotta be really careful where you step. There's only like 4 pieces of very small wood that you can step on. The rest of it is a very thin drywall ceiling that you will fall directly through. This is what the attic looks like itself. The one thing I'm noticing is look at all that light and kind of the seams of the roof. I'm wondering whether it gets wet in there when it rains, because there's just a tremendous amount of light coming through. So this is what the attic looks like with the roof on top. It's a metal roof, so when it rains you can really hear it. And it's not like it's super annoying, you just kind of hear it more than you normally would. But this is kind of what it looks like upstairs here, up in the attic area. And this is the area that, you know, you run the wires and whatever you got to do. There's the vent right there. I'm thinking about maybe doing an attic fan for that, because I think if I vent that area and get the hot air out of there, especially in the afternoon, because it faces west, it'll be a lot cooler. So there's the entrance back down to the ladder. And obviously there's no light up here. You know, in the States often we put a light. So the next thing is to install the instant water heater and then upgrade from this shower head handle set to this one, which will give us an overhead shower. So electrician's here right now, and they're running the electric through the attic to the breaker box. And they've started on the other bathroom first, so let's take a look. So we're in the master right now, master bath. Can I take a look? So there's the hole that's drilled up into the ceiling for the wire, and then they're installing the water heater. Okay so far?
Sorry, sorry.
Yeah. So we're going to keep this one set up for now. So this first one is installed for the water heater, but we've got an issue. When I try to reach to it, it's too high. So I'm asking the electrician to lower it down so I can reach the knob. So we're going to head to the hardware store, get more wire, and then they'll lower the unit so that we can reach that knob. Because right now I'm on my tippy toes trying to adjust the temperature. So this one is now connected as far as the plumbing goes, and then the electrician's up in the attic right here actually through this hole, and is doing the connection of all the electrical. So we're getting there. Water heater number 1. And we come over here. We see a lovely lady named Lynn. Say hi, Lynn.
Hi. You turning off? Why?
Because it's working. So we can go in the office. This is number 2. So it's installed along with a new shower head and the wand. So now we added the shower head, and so we have one unified, valve system. So this is number 2. It's all connected. Now all we have to do is put up a shower curtain, and then we should be in good shape here. So they're connecting the power right now through the attic. They're going to go to the junction box, which is over here. So they're running the power to this junction box. They're going to tie in to one of the breakers. Guys are getting in the final touch up here on top. Climbed way up there. And then just an update on the painting. The guys have been painting outside this week. So they're painting the entire outside of the house. And they're making good progress. Looks much better. Everything looks better with the second coat of paint. You know, you need to get enough paint up there. There's still a little bit of cracking or something going on right here. You see that? Looks like that went over some type of a patch job. Maybe it wasn't sanded off. And then you can see there was a settling crack that they patched and painted. Still not quite perfect, but much better than it was. And so you can see I had the painter actually paint the pipes. And then I'm assuming the installer is going to seal this with like a sealant, like a GE silicone or something similar, just like they did up here on this one. So the pipes look much better painted. To give you an idea what they look like before they painted, let's come to the other side of the house. So that's what it looks like before it's painted, and why we use PVC material to make sure it could be painted. But the same thing here, that they need to seal this and fix this from drilling the hole through for the electric. One thing that the air conditioner installer said, and then also the installer for the framing inside the kitchen ceiling, they said this concrete's kind of soft. So whatever that means, I would take that to mean it doesn't have a lot of strength on its own, like it could come off kind of easily if it was dug into. So this will have to be all repaired. And then we'll have the painters paint over all of that. This is a PVC downpipe here for the drain. I'm sorry, for the vent. So this is interesting. This is the vent pipe. In the US, you take the vent pipe up from the bathroom, put it up through the ceiling into the roof, and a foot or two above the roof. Here they do it this way, where it comes from the bottom. It's really more like the drain system. And then they vent it up on the side of the house. One thing that we ran into is that the installer actually installed the new deadbolt upside down. He did that on both the front door and this kitchen door. So now I'm going to have to take it apart and then turn it around. Normally that wouldn't be a big deal, but the way he drilled the hole, it's a little bit of an angle, and right now it doesn't want to go back. But we're going to have to take this door anyway, and then we're going to have to reverse these hinges and put those hinges over here on the door frame and then make the door open out. Otherwise, it's going to be too tight for the island that's going to go right here in the kitchen. So we actually want this door to open to the outside like you normally would in the US. This is what the framing looks like for the soffit at the end of day one. So they made it this far. We come around the living room wall. We give a perspective. Here's the front door. And then they're creating these channels here for the drywall. It's interesting. It's at a pretty good angle right here. We didn't really talk about putting it at an angle. So it will be interesting to see what they do next. Because this part here is all level. It sure looks like they're going to do it at an angle, which might be okay. Might be kind of interesting, but it's not what we talked about. That's one thing here, that really nice guys that do the work, but understanding each other is not always easy. I speak a little English, not much. Oh, there we go. This part of the framing is all in place in the kitchen here. I'm excited about that. I think that soffit system is going to work great. It's just so much more affordable to do this type of thing here. Labor is only $10 a day. So it's really the cost of the materials more than the labor. And then Friday we'll have all the appliances delivered. So they can then measure the appliances exactly before they cut the countertops. So they're fabricating the cabinet boards right now and piecing together in the shop. That'll take about 2 weeks. And then they want the actual appliances to get the exact dimensions, even though we have the specs, before they cut any of the countertops, which will be granite once this is removed. So we're making progress. Busy day, 3 crews working today. So here's what the framing looks like as they're actually drilling in and doing the work. So they take this aluminum bar material and then they're just long sheets of it, probably about 3 meters long, 3 to 4 meters long. And then they cut it to the brackets and things that they want, and then they screw it all together. So this is what the framework looks for, or like, for the soffit that goes both in the kitchen and then also into the living room. So they're making good progress there. This is going to be a pretty neat effect here. I'll show you shortly what it looks like. In the meantime, this is our electrical box, and this is what it looks like after they've run the additional wires for the air conditioner and everything else that they need for the attic, which would have been connecting to the circuit for those instant water heaters. But that's what the wire looks like right there. And we ran that through one of those orange PVC pipes from the main air conditioner on the outside of the house. Here's some of the final framework that they're doing. And then they're getting very close to having that finished. As soon as it is done, then they'll attach a drywall type material. It's a little bit thinner and a little bit stronger, and they'll make it actually like a horizontal soffit with a little gap in it, and then the gap is where the LED rope lighting will go. So here's the final frame. It's pretty much done at this point, just finishing up that last piece, but that's how the framework looks like. And then they'll attach the drywall type material to that to finish that up. There's the register for the air conditioner. And so this is the kind of final glance before they close it up. The next part of the video that you're going to see, all of this will have drywall being attached to it, so that framework will completely disappear, and you'll have, this is just the structure underneath it. So that's the last piece of framing right there. So now we add the drywall to this, and they've done the drywall portion heading towards the kitchen. So it's starting to really take shape now. You get a much better idea what that's going to look like. So it's pretty exciting. The next step that they'll do next week will be to paint all that out and then begin running the electrical rope around it. And then we'll also add some LED lights in the ceiling here. Well, lots of things happening with the house this week, and we're making progress. We're getting there slowly but surely. So keep watching to see what happens next. You guys take care.